Elias had spent the morning arguing with a hydrofilter that hissed back at him with the confidence of a machine that knew it held the moral high ground. This was normal. What wasn't normal was the shimmering diplomatic cruiser sliding into Dock 12 like a cosmic peacock, trailing enough ceremonial lights to blind a small moon. The station loudspeakers tried to announce its arrival, but got halfway through the welcome message and gave up, sounding as though they were choking on their own static. Elias wiped his hands, muttered something about dignitaries needing to learn subtlety, and turned, only to freeze as the ship's ramp unfolded in a slow, theatrical arc clearly designed by someone who believed doors should make an entrance. The first figure who descended was tall, graceful, and accompanied by guards whose armor gleamed like star-forged glass. But Elias barely noticed them. His attention locked on the woman stepping behind them, moving with a practiced calm he remembered from a very different place. Her long ears framed her face like silver crescents, twitching slightly as she scanned the dock. Her eyes found him with unsettling precision. He felt a jolt, like touching a power conduit you thought was off. She walked toward him, her expression steady, though he sensed she was amused in a way only someone burdened with royalty could manage. When she stopped in front of him, the air around them felt charged, as if the station itself had paused to listen. "Do you remember me, human?" Her voice was softer than he expected, carrying none of the dramatic echo that fancy ships usually bestow on their owners. But the words still hit him like a cargo crate. He blinked once, twice. His brain rummaged frantically through years of memories, most of them dusty or poorly organized. Then it struck him, the battlefield smoke, the collapsing ridge, the desperate scramble to drag a wounded alien soldier out from under fire. The long ears, the fierce glare she gave him when he told her to stop trying to stand with a broken leg. Yes, he remembered. He nodded, which came out more like an awkward head bob. "Yes, Princess, sorry, you've upgraded since then, haven't you?" A faint curl appeared at the corner of her lips. "Queen now. Promotion comes with additional responsibility and significantly fewer opportunities to hide during meetings." Elias tried not to stare too obviously at her ceremonial robes, which looked like they cost more than his entire apartment and possibly parts of the station. "Well, congratulations. What brings your majesty to Dock 12? We usually only get cargo ships, lost tourists, and once a group of space bikers who tried to race through the hallways." Her ears twitched mildly, which he'd learned long ago meant she was holding back laughter. "I have come because circumstances require someone I can trust. Someone who once saved my life. Someone who is, according to my advisors, deeply unpredictable but irritatingly honorable. That appears to be you." "Wow," Elias said. "I feel insulted and flattered at the same time. It's like a 2-for-1 emotional special." She stepped closer. "Tensions rise between our species. A faction on my world pushes for war, and they will not listen to me alone. I need your help to prevent a catastrophe." She paused. "Also, I need someone who understands humans well enough to explain why your people place snack dispensers next to emergency escape hatches." "That was accidental," Elias said. "Mostly." Her gaze softened. "Will you come with me?" Elias looked past her at the diplomatic cruiser. It was beautiful, sleek, shimmering with layered alloys that made it look like moonlight wrapped around a blade. He knew that stepping aboard meant tangling with politics, danger, and possibly more conversations where he accidentally insulted alien culture because he couldn't pronounce half their ceremonial words. But she was here. She remembered him, and she needed him. "All right," he said, "but you should know I'm not exactly hero material these days. Last week I got stuck in a maintenance shaft for 3 hours because I sneezed and dropped my wrench." "Then you will fit perfectly into my court," she said, turning with a flick of her long ears that somehow communicated both dignity and exasperated fondness. "They respond well to authenticity, or at least they are terrified of it." He followed her up the ramp, trying not to trip over anything important-looking. Inside, the ship glowed with soft blue light and a faint hum that suggested sophisticated engines and, hopefully, less sophisticated security scanners that wouldn't detect the emergency snack bar he kept in his pocket. As the doors closed behind them, sealing him into a future he hadn't remotely planned for, Elias thought that life had a strange way of rerouting itself. One moment you were arguing with a hydrofilter. The next, you were boarding the flagship of an alien queen who remembered you better than you remembered yourself. And somewhere deep inside him, a feeling stirred. Not fear, not regret, but the unmistakable sense that the universe had just leaned in and whispered, "Pay attention." Elias tried very hard to walk like someone who belonged on a royal starship, which mostly meant attempting not to bump into walls. The ship adjusted its gravity in gentle pulses as it prepared for departure, but his legs insisted on interpreting every pulse as a personal attack. The queen glided beside him with effortless grace, her long ears shifting in subtle rhythms that suggested she was amused, yet valiantly suppressing it. Her advisors were less subtle. As the two entered the central corridor, several long-eared officials paused mid-conversation to stare. One of them, a tall figure wearing layers of shimmering fabric that probably served no purpose except intimidation, tilted his head, sniffed the air, and muttered something that sounded like a complaint about human clumsiness contaminating the navigation field. Elias resisted the urge to wave, or sneeze. The queen ignored them all as if she'd trained for years specifically to ignore people. She led Elias into a chamber filled with floating screens and softly rotating star maps. The air smelled faintly of ionized metal and a perfume he recognized from their battlefield encounter. Something floral but with a hint of static, like flowers grown near lightning. "We will be traveling to my homeworld," she said, touching a control panel that projected a swirling hologram of a cerulean planet ringed with silver. "I will brief you during the journey. For now, sit." The chair she indicated looked harmless enough, circular, cushioned, and glowing faintly. Elias sat, the glow brightened, the seat vibrated, an electronic voice hummed in a melodic alien language. The queen's eyes widened. "Elias, that is the ancestral harmonics throne." He froze. "Is that bad?" "It is meant for communing with the spirits of past rulers." "I'm so sorry," he said quickly. "Please tell them I didn't mean to put my full weight on their historical significance." The queen's ears flicked in a gesture he guessed was barely concealed laughter. She tapped the control panel to deactivate the throne, which dimmed reluctantly, as though offended. "It is fine. They will recover from the insult in a few centuries." "Perhaps." "Great," Elias said. "I've angered the dead. Fantastic start." She gestured toward another seat, one that wasn't glowing, vibrating, or spiritually occupied. He took it gratefully. The ship launched with a smooth acceleration that pressed them gently back. Elias watched the starfield stretch, warp, and snap into the brilliant tapestry of slipstream. He'd traveled through faster-than-light corridors before, but never inside a vessel so quiet it made his old shuttle feel like a trash can strapped to fireworks. The queen leaned forward, her expression shifting into something more serious. "You must understand the gravity of our situation." "I'm trying," Elias said, "but the gravity on this ship keeps changing." She gave him a flat look. "A faction on my world believes humanity is a threat. They want conflict. They intend to force my hand, if necessary." "Force it how?" "Provocations, manufactured incidents. They think war will unite our people under a common cause." "Ah yes," Elias said. "The classic, let's start a war to solve our internal problems plan. Historically very successful. Except for the countless times it was." Her lips twitched. "You have not changed." "Was I like this during the war?" "You talked while carrying me across a battlefield," she said. "You told jokes, one about a malfunctioning fusion rifle and a very confused goat." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Yeah, I don't handle stress well." "And yet," she said softly, "you saved me." The silence that followed wasn't heavy, just thoughtful, like both of them were remembering a younger version of themselves. Both frightened, both stubborn, both unaware that fate had begun braiding their paths together. The doors slid open and one of her guards stepped inside, bowing stiffly. "My queen, preparations for the council address are underway. Also, the human appears to have accidentally activated the sacred harmonics throne." "Yes," she said with regal calm, "we are aware." The guard's eyes widened with a horror Elias found disproportionate to the event. "Should we apologize to the ancestors?" "No," she said, "they will make do." The guard nodded solemnly, then glared at Elias as if he personally owed them an apology fruit basket. After the guard left, the queen sighed, rubbing her temples. "This is why I need you. Humans unsettle my court. In ways that are useful, unexpectedly disarming." "I can definitely be unsettling," Elias said proudly. It's basically my whole personality. Good, she stood. Come, there is much to prepare and I require your perspective. My human perspective. Your unconventional perspective, she corrected. And the fact that you are impossible to predict makes the council very nervous. Happy to help, he said. Terrifying politicians is one of my natural talents. As she led him deeper into the heart of the ship, Elias felt something shift, not in the gravity this time, but in himself. Their shared past, once tucked away in memory, was no longer distant. And whatever waited for them on her homeworld, he could sense it growing closer, like a storm gathering behind the slipstream glow. He just hoped he wouldn't sit on any more important chairs. Elias' first step onto the Queen's homeworld was almost graceful, until he tripped on the landing ramp and pretended it was an intentional, human greeting ritual. The Queen's guards did not look convinced. The Queen herself merely sighed, with the resigned fondness of someone who had accepted that the universe had decided she needed at least one chaotic human in her life. The city stretched before them in towers of silver and pale gold, reflecting the sky in shimmering waves. It would have been awe-inspiring if not for the large crowd gathered to glare at Elias with the intensity usually reserved for malfunctioning reactors. The Queen whispered that it was the welcoming committee. Elias whispered back that perhaps they needed a different hobby. Inside the council chamber, long-eared officials arranged themselves in curved rows, their expressions ranging from suspicious to openly offended. The Queen stepped forward with regal calm, delivering a speech that wove diplomacy, strength, and logic into a sharp warning against the rising warmonger faction. Elias admired her composure, especially considering how one counselor looked ready to faint at the sight of his boots. Then the chamber doors burst open. A tall alien in dark armor strode in, holding a plasma staff crackling with blue electricity. Elias recognized him as one of the Queen's most vocal opponents, the leader of the faction pushing for war. His long ears were pinned back, signaling fury. "You bring a human into our sacred hall," he shouted, pointing the staff at Elias. "You betray our people, and now you will witness consequence." Elias raised a hand. "For the record, I didn't want to be a consequence." The Queen stepped protectively between them, but the staff's crackling energy surged. Elias, guided purely by instinct and terrible luck, lunged forward just as the extremist fired. The blast skimmed past him and scorched a decorative pillar, apparently a priceless historical artifact, if the Council's collective gasp was any indication. "Oops," Elias muttered. "My bad." The attacker swung the staff toward him. Elias ducked, rolled, and accidentally knocked over a ceremonial sculpture that clattered loudly enough to make half the council flinch. The Queen leapt into action, disarming the extremist with swift precision while Elias wrestled the staff away, mostly by tripping over it and landing on the alien's foot. The extremist howled. The guards swarmed in. Moments later, it was over. The council chamber fell into stunned silence. The Queen straightened, her voice cold and clear as she ordered the conspirators arrested. Evidence poured in: secret communications, intercepted plans, falsified human attacks. The plot to force a war unraveled in full view of every official present. The Queen turned to the council, her expression fierce. "This is what nearly led us to catastrophe, not humanity, not the past, fear, manipulation, ambition without conscience." Elias, still sitting on the floor holding the deactivated plasma staff like an oversized fishing rod, raised a hand. "I'd appreciate it if someone could help me up. My spine is negotiating a peace treaty with the ground." The Queen extended her hand, and when Elias took it, he felt something shift, not just politically, but personally, as though the war and the years between had finally aligned into something whole. When she addressed the council again, her voice softened. "This human saved me once. Today he saved us all. Not through power, but through honesty, imperfection, and a deeply confusing fighting style." "It's mostly falling," Elias said. Strategically, a few council members, the braver ones, allowed themselves the faintest smiles. The Queen continued, "Let this be the beginning of peace built not on fear, but on understanding. Our worlds will talk, trade, learn, grow." Elias added, "And maybe install warning signs on sacred chairs." Later, after the council dispersed and the conspirators were in custody, the Queen guided Elias to a balcony overlooking the glowing skyline. The sun dipped low, painting everything in soft lavender light. Her long ears gently swayed in the breeze. "You have changed," she said quietly. "You hide it beneath jokes, but the man I met long ago carried only fear. Now you carry something else. Still fear," Elias admitted, "but maybe not only fear." "And I have changed," she said. "Once I was a soldier who trusted no one outside my own kind. But you taught me that the universe is wider than fear allows." They stood together in comfortable silence. The kind of silence shared by people who had fought through the worst and found something worth holding onto. After a long moment, Elias cleared his throat. "So, what happens now?" "Now," she said, turning to him with a small smile, "we begin the long work of peace. You will assist me." "Is this a formal appointment?" Elias asked. "Or a polite way of saying you need someone to keep tripping over conspiracies before they get dangerous?" "Both," she said. He laughed. "Then I guess I'm not going home yet." "No," she said softly, "you are home." For the first time since the war, Elias felt that might actually be true. And as the stars above them shimmered to life, he allowed himself to imagine a future shaped not by battles, but by choices, by unexpected bonds, impossible alliances, and the strange, unpredictable path of a human who saved a queen's life long ago and somehow ended up saving much more. It was, he thought,